Speaking of insert, let's go ahead and we'll grab our original cube here, and let's go ahead and go to Brush, BI, Brush Insert, and we'll start with the Insert Multi-Mesh Boolean right here, and we're going to choose some of these options here. Now, in order to create some of these, we're going to get to that later when we go into brush creation. One of those is this ball radar. So if I choose the ball radar here, if I insert it on this cube here, it's going to inherit all of the properties of that cube, including this dynamic right here. So it's set to QGrid, which probably isn't going to work very good for this object right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop out of live Boolean here, and you're going to see when I do an insert mesh, it automatically keeps it unmasked. So I'm going to go to split, unmask points, and that's going to go ahead and take this new subtool and put it into its own group. Now, instead of doing a QGrid dynamic, what I'm going to do is turn QGrid down to 0, and now I can do a smooth subdiv. So we'll turn smooth subdiv up to 2. And let's go ahead and go back with this new subtool we have, and we'll turn that to subtractive, and we'll hit live Boolean. Now with this one, when I hit W, I can actually push this through, and it'll kind of do a recessed area that leaves the sphere behind. Now, of course, it's intersecting with this previous one, so I'm going to go ahead and push this back here. There we go. Now, if you know you're going to be doing a lot of subtractive Booleans all at once, what might be a good idea is to go ahead and I'm going to take this Boolean here, and let's go ahead and delete it. And we'll go ahead and delete this one as well. So what I'm going to do with this cube is I'm going to, I guess I can insert or append a sphere 3D, and we'll take this sphere 3D, and we'll go ahead and scale this down. So I'm going to go to deformation, size. I'm just going to crank that -100 a lot of times. So if you turn on transparency, I'm just going to put a tiny little sphere right in the middle of my object out of the way that I'm not going to see. Now, if I set this one to subtractive, what I can now do is with my live Boolean on, I go to brush, insert, and we'll go ahead and grab again the insert mesh Boolean. And if you want to go up here, you can kind of scroll through these things, or you can hit M and kind of pick one that you want to play with. So we'll go ahead and pick this ring design, and we're going to get heavier into these brushes in a bit. But what I'm going to do is with this one selected, set the negative. If I go ahead and just drag that on my mesh, you're going to see as I drag it on, it automatically sets itself to a subtractive Boolean, because again, I'm just adding these shapes onto this original shape. So if I go into solo mode, you're going to see my sphere is right there. It's set to negative, and anything I add to the subtool is already going to be set to negative. In fact, it'll also inherit any of your dynamic properties. So you're going to see it's kind of faceted right here. Let's go ahead and go down here to dynamic, or hit D to turn that on, and now we've got nice smooth edges because we've got the smooth modifier already plugged in. So we can go ahead and grab another one, and we can go ahead and drag that one out, and we can use our gizmo to kind of push these in more or less. And with this gizmo activated, again, we're going to get more into brushes later, but with W active, you can just cycle through on the fly and see which one is going to work for you. You can kind of just go through and be like, oh, which one am I looking for? Oh, that's a cool one. I like this one right here. So I can just, and let's go ahead and turn off sticky, so it'll behave a little bit better. And you can also go in here and hit reset, hold down Alt and hit reset, or go to unmesh center, all the things we talked about in that gizmo. So now if we turn on live Boolean again, now we can take this and do Control Shift drag, or if you wanted to just pattern this down, turn on sticky, Control Shift drag down, and then hit 1, and just keep duplicating this subtool down. Now again, it's all part of our original subtool, so we're just adding a bunch of, and we also need to unmask, so again, if we didn't unmask, we turn this on, as we're doing repeat last, it's just keeping these things masked. So we probably want to unmask. And now if we want to move all of these, let's go ahead and just do Control Shift, excuse me, to isolate it. And now when we can turn our live Boolean back on, we can just move this thing around and then hold down Control Shift and bring all those other subtools back. And like I mentioned before, if we turn on polyframe, it's going to give us a hashed version of whatever our selected subtool is. Even if it's a subtractive, it'll show you all of your mesh here. But it won't show you the poly frame or the actual topology of your union mesh, and that's because it hasn't been created yet. This is live, so I can just update it on the fly, but it's not usable geometry. It's completely non-destructive, which is a very good thing, because you can go in here and you can experiment. You're like, you know what, I don't need all of these patterns here, so I'm going to go into solo mode, and we'll just grab pieces of all these, and then we'll do Control Shift A, which is grow visible all in the visibility menu, and then we can go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and that'll go ahead and get rid of those. And now it's like, okay, now I also want to do, let's turn on hatch mode here. I'm going to isolate these ones, mask them, invert that mask here, and now we can just kind of move this around. We can turn polyframe off, and now we can kind of reposition these. So of course you do want the flexibility, and you can hold down, you can go ahead and unsticky this if you'd like, and now you can hold down Alt, reset orientation, and set it back to the center of our object here. So now we can have the ability, you know what, I want to do this one, hold down Control Shift and drag out a copy here. So of course non-destructive is good, but what if you did want to go ahead and get the actual mesh for this geometry? Before we do that, let's try one more thing here. So what I want to do is we've got this polycube here. We'll go ahead and turn live Boolean off for this. I'm going to go ahead and fill this with, let's just do a couple really obvious ones. I'm going to do this chrome bright, and I'm going to make it red chrome. And then I'm going to go over here with mRGB turned on for my standard brush and go to color, fill object. Now for the subtraction mesh, what I'm going to do is let's choose another material. Let's do green metallic, and let's make it really green. So now when I hit this live Boolean, you're going to see not only does the final mesh going to inherit these properties, but the live Boolean also contains the RGB information and the material information. Let's make those differences a little bit more obvious. Let's, instead of green metallic, let's do chalk. So this is green chalk. So you've got metallic here, and then you've got like chalk interior pieces.